Hey all, 118 Seth Shadow here. We're in the holiday weekend over here in the US for Memorial Day, which will be tomorrow, so happy Memorial Day to all of you. And for today's Market Watch, we'll have a small amount of things to cover, which for Shadowverse it's still a lot of decreases on many legendaries, but we also have some movement happening on some of the starter decks too. Before we go into any of that, though, I do want to take a review of our leader cards, seeing where they are right now in terms of high to low prices. So, the Code Geass collaboration leaders are the ones mostly sitting at the top here, where you have the big three characters of the series, Lelouch, C2, and Colin, all among the top here. And then, of course, you've got Millie Parfait, and we've also got Daria among the first six that we have available in terms of market price right now. Lelouch's sign, which is the only sign leader that we even have amongst all the different leaders that we have, has a market price of $4.20 and 19 cents, while C2 follows up with a large gap at $282.46. The Millie Parfait leader card's the next one, where it's $203.76 for its market price, but its actual base listings are cheaper than that right now, starting at $160. The regular Lelouch as well as Colin follow-up, where we have market prices at around $190 and $150 there, while Daria is about $146. But Daria's actual listing, is $180 right now. Then we have some of the Uma Musume leaders. We have Manhattan Cafe, as well as Twin Turbo, and then Narita Taishin, where, let's see, Manhattan and Twin Turbo are both in the hundreds at this point, while Narita is $90 for its base price, but has a market price of $119 there. Then we get into Suzaku, followed by Aurelia, and Ramina, where Ramina and Aurelia are both from set 1 and have been maintaining pretty high prices for quite some time. They've been slowly on the decline overall, but they're still both above 100 in market price, while Aurelia does have a listing or two that are underneath 100 at this point. Zernitra's following them, which used to be the biggest leader to pick up in set 1. Then you've got Cornelia, which is also part of the Code Geass collab. Lorena, who does not have a card variant available to us right now. And then we keep going. We see quite a few more between Yaneno from Uma Musume as well. Grass Wonder. Then you've got Isabel. Isabel is currently the only one of the original leader cards on the first page, which come from set 1. You've got Aria Dancing Fairy, and you've also got Charles de Britannia on the first page as well. And then we take a look at the second page. It goes into cards like Urias, Jeremiah, and Li Shinkei. You've got Light Tenryu on the second page as well at about 47 to start, but a market price of 37-ish. Arissa is also here with Erica. They're both around the 30s. Then you've got Rowan, and then we get into all the basic leaders that you can pick up from the starter deck, as well as the promo of Millie Parfait as well. All under $4 at least. Erica is still holding at a market price of $252 and a base price of $391. No matter what happens, Erica always maintains at least $3 for its base leader card, and that just never seems to change. Now into singles, and the first one to talk about today is going to be Alice, where the base legendaries have really dropped off in price now for their base listings. It's $21.50 right now if you want to pick up the regular, and the Evo has got a listing as low as $12. Looking at that in a bit more detail, let's see here. So, lots of copies available on the base legendary at $21.50. And when it comes to the Evo version, yeah, we've got a lot of $12 ones. So that dropped off quite far from its market price of $23.36. Given that, as I mentioned before, there's only one Fairy Tail deck that continues to see play in this current format. So that's overall dropped the need to have so many copies of this card. However, the ultimate rare of the Evo still has its market price at 147-ish, and the base listings are still 145 plus. Then you've also got to consider shipping for some of these lower cost ones. One other thing to note is that Side Games Bushiroad have announced we will have the restriction on our Uma Musume cards. What were they? Tactical as well as right, I cannot remember their names right now. I can't remember their names right now. But the two restrictions that we have right now on Uma Musume are going to be lifted on the release of Set 5 in June. So, after the BSF is over, we're going to see a change in format where Uma Musume will actually be back at full power. Though, even with that said, Daiwa Scarlet has dropped off quite significantly over time, and the card is now pretty well available at under $4, with at least one listing having 6 copies. After that, it's still a $5 card, but even at full power, this deck is likely to continue to lose popularity steam in comparison to decks that are coming out later, and we'll have to see where that goes, though. Dark Angel Olivia is also slowly falling off in value. More recently, it's had its market price pick back up, and it's now $32.31. However, listings are starting to pop up more so at $28 and lower, and there's not a single $30 one, if you don't include shipping, on the front page right now. Slowly but surely, the card is beginning to lose value, and will likely do so as we continue to go forward. Dragon Song Flute for Discard Dragon has also been seeing more decreases in value, where the market price is now $6.94, and you can pick this card up for... there's still a fair amount of copies under $7, and then otherwise they mostly hover around $7, which is where the market price is right now. Ancient Elf is holding steady right now for its prices, where the Super Legendary of the base form is now a pretty solid $15 with the market price on the base listing. And then you've got the regular Legendary holding around a market price of $10.50. And then when it comes to the Evo version, this card is still cheap to pick up for its regular Legendary, and for the Super Legendary version of it, it's still around $6 to pick up, which is definitely higher than it was before, but ultimately still not too expensive. Forte is in a similar boat, but in comparison to Ancient Elf, this one is not really rebounding well for its base form, because this one used to be really expensive. The Super Legendary of the base form used to be in the 50s and higher. Now it's in the 20s, where 26 seems to be the constant price to look at. The regular form of the Legendary is around $8.50 to $9 with a market price of around $10, while the Evo, Super Legendary, and regular are still pretty easy to pick up. The Super Legendary is $4.50 base with a market price right around there, and then the Evo is still around $1. The Ultimate Rare, on the other hand, still over $100. It's $125 base with a market price of around $135. Not much change in that front either. Forte has overall just been kind of holding or just dropping off overall in value. Then there's just one thing I want to talk about when it comes to the 2024 Spring Fest promos. Just the fact that there aren't too many of them on the market. When you take a look from things like Explosion, which has a market price of about $54, there are only 5 listings of that one on the market right now, and it's currently $55 base. You've got Flower Princess, which has $30 for its base listing and a market price of $25-ish, but there are only 2 listings on that one. You have the Shop Challenge promo winner or top 3 variant for Demon Punk, which is $20, and then Skeleton Fighters $30 with a market price of $20, but only 1 listing there. You've also got Dragon Summoner, who also only has 1 listing and then a market price of $11, but the only listing is $40. So we've gone through the BSF for quite a few months already, and yet we still don't see that much quantity on the market. So I'm really curious as to why that is, because I'm I know that I'm pretty sure Shadowverse Evolve's presence in the BSF probably had a lot of competition with playing standard format in a lot of regions. But even so, this number of promos is very small, which it's kind of rough to see. I mean, Cardfight Vanguard still kind of dominates in terms of popularity, given it's been around a whole lot longer. But yeah, seeing the promos in the single digits like this is still kind of rough. And then to talk about some of the starter decks, first off, we've got the Abyss starter deck right now, where Playful Necromancer and Lesser Mummy are the big cards to pick up in this one. And Playful Necromancer's base form is now $5 with 2 listings at this point. It's $4.80 base. And Luna's leader card is now a pretty solid $2 base with a market price of $103. The deck itself also has no quantities right now here. Undying Resentment, I forgot about that. That's also out of stock right now with a market price of 60 cents. And as for Lesser Mummy, the regular one is out of stock at a market price of 23 cents, while the Evo still has 7 listings starting at 20 cents. Be careful here. Lesser Mummy sees play overall between Rush and Necrocharge, so it's pretty interesting to see how the base form is just completely out of stock while the Evo is still available at this point. Then the last thing to talk about today is the Haven starter deck, which we've talked about how ridiculous some of these values can be, but it looks like the starter deck itself has finally made its way back to around its original price. Now it's about $18 to pick up with a market price of $11.10. I was pointing out how this thing, you might as well have picked it up at $10 or $11 because Acolyte's Light is currently $5 and Pinion Prayer is $3, and you get 3 of each in there, which amounts to at least $24 if you need play sets of both. And then of course you'll get extra Leader Eris cards on top of some other exclusives which we won't be seeing much of until we get to Glory Finder. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys later.